We're now going to talk about hygiene and maintenance of yourself and your kit. This is probably one of the most important subjects in makeup, especially when you're learning. Now, I know on a personal level, perhaps you've shared makeup between you and your friends and gotten away with it and there's been no problem. The issue is sometimes you can have a sty or a cold sore, or there can be some kind of an infection on your face or on your body, and you really don't even know that it's there. Just because there's no sore doesn't mean there isn't an infection, and it doesn't mean it can't be transferred. Unfortunately, I have seen models in the past affected by styes and cold sores and infections, and it's a really, really bad thing, because not only is it bad to catch something, but if your profession is your face and a makeup artist doesn't take care, you can really cause problems for someone and really stop them from making money. Now, it's more important because it's a health issue. I cannot drum this into you enough. Everything needs to be clean. From the start, you need to be clean. Your teeth need to be clean. Your face, your hair. There needs to be no sharp jewellery or anything that can affect your client. I'd like you to go into this with that in mind before you start anything. You know, the cleaner you are, you can never be too clean, all right? So if you're as hygienic as a hospital, it's a good way to start. So let's start at the beginning. You've got yourself looking great, you're nice and clean, you smell great, your hands are washed, we're ready to go. So what about our tools and how do we use them with our clients without transferring any nasties? Firstly, the best thing to do is to buy 100% alcohol steriliser. This is the kind of things that would be used in a hospital to sterilise anything, okay? This is a great cleanser. It's really good to use in between clients. It's good to have enough brushes that you don't have to re-wash all the time, but your brushes must be cleaned in between every single client without fail. It's extremely, extremely important. Now, in between clients, when I don't have time to actually wash the brushes, I'll use this steriliser because it removes any germs and it does clean the brushes. My pet hate is makeup brushes that look dirty. Now, sometimes they can be clean and sterilised, but you can still see the shadow or the discoloration in the brush. And I think it's really important for your client when they sit down to see your kit that it looks sparkling new. Okay, now quite often people love a creative mess. At the end of the day though, people want to know that they're being treated with respect and care, and they want to know that your kit is clean so that they are safe. So in between clients, when I need to sterilise my brushes, I'll use this alcohol formula. It's quick drying because it is alcohol. It immediately dries after you squeeze the excess out. Now I've just put a little bit into this container. I carry this everywhere I go. Take your dirty brush, dip it into the cleanser and submerge it all the way without getting to the silver part of the brush there. Okay? And when you pull it out, just press against the edge of the bowl and squeeze any excess out. Then use a tissue or a cotton tip and simply squeeze the excess out. This will leave your brushes sterilised and ready to go on your next client. Put them in your brush roll or your canisters facing up and they will dry almost immediately. So how do we stop infections from wet products like mascara and eyeliner? Well, it's really easy. One of the most important things we do as makeup artists, especially when using mascara, is we use disposable mascara wands. It's the best way to stop any sort of transference of nasties. Usually, if there is an eye infection, you can usually see it, but like I said before, not always. Sometimes it can be hidden, sometimes the eye might just look a little bit watery. A lot of the time the client doesn't even know they have it. So just to protect yourself and ensure that everything is kept clean, hygienic and safe, we always use disposable mascara wands. And I'll show you how. You use these only one at a time, one per application. So you take your mascara. A good tip to stop you from getting into any bad habits is to actually remove the brush off the mascara that you've bought. Now, it is unfortunate because a lot of the time we do buy mascaras based on their wand, but as a makeup artist, that's in the past. Don't buy mascaras for their wand, buy them for the formula and how they work, especially how they work with a disposable. Now, we just use it like we use the normal wand, push it in. Try not to sort of pump it back and forward though, because what that does is it puts air into the mascara and can dry it out. So just gently work it around. I think the thing where the people go wrong here is that they don't put enough product on. Now, because the mascara wand itself has been sitting in the product, it's saturated, it's full of product. So you want your disposable to be the same. So you have as much ease of application as possible. So just squeezing it around to get, you can feel the product in there and get as much as you like, as much as you can, and just pull out like this. And as you saw, this wand was red when it went in, now it's black. So I've got enough product, okay? Now this will keep your clients safe from conjunctivitis, styes, all those kind of things. Now, if you need to re-dip this, you need to use another wand. Every time this goes in, a new wand, okay? It only takes a tiny, tiny little bit of an infection to get on this wand, ruin the mascara. And quite frankly, the mascara is probably the one product we use the most in makeup, so you will go through it, okay? So just remember, that is the way to do it. And if you've got too much product on, just take it off the edge there, okay? Another way that I love to work with mascara is, I use one of these brushes. These are amazing. It's a little fan brush. Now, again, with hygiene, you have to be especially careful, so we can't be double dipping. So one of the best ways to do it is to take the mascara out of the wand and place it on a palette or the back of your clean hand, and then you can literally paint. This is one of my most favourite tricks. I love to do this because I love it when a photo is taken of lashes and you cannot see any of the natural lashes, black from top to bottom and right to the root. If you take a really close-up photo, you won't be able to tell where the mascara ends or where it starts. So this is a great one to just coat the lashes from the root or the bottom lashes and get some really great detail. Again, don't double dip. Make sure you take the product off and put it on a palette before you apply. So that's another great way to keep hygienic with your mascara. Next, I'm going to talk about eyeliners. Now, eyeliner pencils, again, is a creamy product. If you don't sterilise these pencils, you can again transfer germs. The best way to do it is before every client or at the end of your day, dip your pencil into the brush steriliser, pull it out, wait for it to dry, and then sharpen it, and that will sterilise the pencil. So important, and I really want you to stick to these rules because I would hate if you were to give anyone an infection. Very recently I worked on a show and a makeup artist worked with a model and didn't have clean brushes. A week later, on 9MSN, the model had been reported to have an awful eye infection that almost closed her right eye. They reported on it because it was so important for people to understand. I mean, this is something that the model could sue the artist for, and you never want to get into that place. It became quite a big story, and I think it's really important that people know what can happen. And as much as 90% of the time you might not think that someone's going to get an infection, when they do, you really don't want to be responsible for it. It's just an issue of occupational health and safety, and we keep all of our clients healthy and safe, and we look after them so that they don't get any infections. Because after all, makeup should be fun. You shouldn't walk out of a makeup chair being sick. Now for lipstick. Lips are one of those areas, again, that you have to be particularly careful of when it comes to health and hygiene. If someone has the herpes virus on their lips and you transfer it, the next person you transfer that to, they will have it for life. So it's not just a matter of getting a pimple and it healing up. This is a really, really awful infection to get. And especially if someone has never had it before, it's a really awful thing for them to have to suffer with. And I would hate for anybody doing makeup to actually transfer something like that, because it could be life-changing for your client. So what I normally do when I use lipstick is I'll get a palette and remove the makeup from the tube. Never, ever apply lipstick directly from the tube to someone's mouth. Again, as with the eyes, sometimes you can't tell if there's actually an infection there. Some people don't know, and they will tell you. So even if you ask them if, is that a cold sore? Is that a sty? Is that an infection? They'll say, oh no, it's just something, just a pimple, something like that. This is a really dangerous way to approach makeup. Don't rely on your client to tell you anything like that, okay? Some people will and they'll be very aware, but a lot of people won't, and you don't want to make that mistake. So usually what I'll do is I'll take the lipstick on a clean palette and wipe it off. Take as much product as you need to. Same goes for the solid lipstick creams in the tube. And then I'll get a lipstick brush. And for makeup artists, it's actually easier to apply with a brush anyway. I'm going to teach you later on how to do the perfect lip with a brush, and you'll never want to use anything from a tube again anyway. So we've got our lipstick, and then we just simply apply this way. That way there is no nasties left in this lipstick tube. If someone does have a cold sore and they make you aware of it, again, follow this practice. With the brush that you use, you must never ever use a brush on another person once you've used it on someone. If you do, I cannot guarantee there'll be no germs in it. You just have to, it will undo all of your good work, and you have to be very, very careful. So make sure in your kit you have lots of lipstick brushes. The next step in keeping your brushes and your kit tip-top is to actually wash your brushes. Now I know we've sterilised them, so they're safe to work with people on. However, at the end of the day, you should take your brushes home and you should wash them with a really good quality shampoo. Don't use one from the supermarket. A lot of them tend to have silicons in them, and what that can do to the brush hair is coat it. So when you go to use it in the future, it's not the real brush hair, it's got a coating, and the products don't quite work as well on them. So this is something to really look out for. When you purchase a soap or a shampoo for your brushes, make sure it's really natural and doesn't have any of those kind of silicons or coatings on them. Things like Pantene have extra silicons in them to make the hair look really healthy and beautiful, and it works great on your own hair, but it's not so good for makeup brushes. So nice pure soaps and shampoos. Sometimes Sard's Wonder Soap works really well, or Sunlight Soap, and you can literally just swirl the brush on the top of the soap with some warm water. You can buy equipment to help speed up the process, so like a rough silicone glove will help wash the brush faster, but you can use your hand. There's no need to purchase expensive items to help get your brushes clean. So just pure soap and water under a warm tap, and then squeeze the excess out, lay them to dry, and then afterwards I like to dip them in the steriliser again just to make sure there's nothing left on the brushes. And this makes them look beautiful, makes them nice and soft for your next client, and they'll really appreciate the fact that you've put some attention to detail into your cleanliness routine. It's really, really important. Another thing I like to do, one of the hardest things to get out of brushes is lipstick. Now, I discovered this quite by accident. One of my assistants actually told me this little trick, and it's fantastic. I like to get a really thick cream-based emollient moisturiser. For example, a Nivea is the one that I use. And I squeeze the excess lipstick out of the lipstick brush, and then I'll use a little bit of Nivea and work it into the lipstick brush. Now the oils in the Nivea or the moisturiser actually break down the oils in the lipstick, and it seems to me to be one of the very few ways you can actually get those lipstick brushes back to tip-top condition without any staining or anything. See these two brushes? I've used these many times and there's no lipstick in them. It works great. And then after you've removed the lipstick, again, dip it in the steriliser and squeeze out the excess. This way your brushes are going to be beautiful and clean all the time. Now I'd like to talk about what do you do when you're faced with a client that has an injury. We need to keep that clean and safe as well. So the best thing, depending of course on the problem, is to avoid makeup altogether. Also check with your client to ask them if they're sensitive, if they're allergic to anything, and that way you'll know how to proceed. If someone has a broken piece of skin on their face, it's very important you don't want to make it worse. So bring the makeup right up to the injury. If the client has no problem with you putting makeup on it, then that's okay. But like I said, you need to really discuss this with your client. Again, if it's an infection on the face, avoid the area or use only disposable products, and make sure not to cross-contaminate between your shadows and your cream products. It's really important not to use the brushes you use on this area anywhere else on the face or on any other person. I'm now going to show you some different infections that can happen when using makeup incorrectly, and a brief explanation of what the different things are.